All right.
Yes.
Alana, Jaylo.
Rick Hammond.
We were going to start this about 15 minutes ago, but then a relative called.
Yes.
What did y'all talk about?
How the rice came out, and she went to visit some of my other family members the other day, and she's getting ready to take a trip to Hawaii for Christmas, and getting ready for that. So, yeah.
Glad to hear it, babes.
Yes.
And we'll get to the rice a little bit later.
Oh, my goodness.
Because I have some thoughts on that. But let's, instead of doing that, maybe we talk about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the reunion special that we watched last night.
That was really good. It was very, very good. I was very happy that I was able to watch that. It was really, really good, I think.
What are some highlights that stand out to you?
Oh, I love when they were talking about how Alfonso Ribeiro was, he was explaining that he couldn't see the comedic, he didn't see why everybody thought he was so funny, but his co-stars did. He thought that they thought he had some really great comedic timing and things like that, and how it was funny when they were talking about the pilot, how Will was memorized all their parts, and that they noticed that his mouth was his lips were moving.
Karen Parsons said that he did that until like 6 or 7 episodes into the series.
Yeah.
And at one point she looks at him during rehearsals and she's like, just stop it.
Stop it. I thought that was really funny. And she's like, I saw you. Your lips were moving. And you memorized everything. And she thought it was so funny. And she looked at her, she's going to say, stop it. And how Joseph Marcel, who played Jeffrey Butler, last name is Butler, how he was still alive, because I thought he was gone. I thought he died.
I think he lives over in England, but don't quote me on that.
Or he's from England. I know he's from England.
I know he's from there, but I think he moved back.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. But, he was just, I thought he was gone already, because he was, I don't know how much older than Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv he was, but.
I thought he was around the same age.
Around the same age as them? That's
what I assumed that.
I don't know. But he just puts a lot of, he puts a lot of flavor into the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, I thought he was great. and just to see him there again, I thought he was gone though. I thought he already died, but I'm glad that he's still alive and he was able to make it to the reunion. Yes.
I really enjoyed the special. My one complaint is that they aired too many old clips.
I am not complaining about it. In fact, I like seeing old clips of stuff.
But we've already watched this television show for years. Like, I don't imagine a lot of people who are not fans of the show would tune into the special. And right now, the original Fresh Prince is airing on HBO Max, the same service that financed this. Mm-hmm. So presumably, you also have access to the old show. I'm not saying don't show any clips, but I'm saying limit it to like your best 5 clips.
Yeah, but you don't really have a say in that, Bubs.
But I'm giving you my opinion.
Yes.
Of what I did and didn't like about it. Now, having said that, I liked a lot of the footage that they shot of the table reads and the behind-the-scenes stuff, and Will talking to the studio audiences ahead of time.
And how they said that they had a box of musical instruments, and they're trying to get the audience energized.
That was cool.
That was really cool. And then how they were showing Alfonso Ribeiro's audition for the show.
Yeah, that stuff I dig. And they were showing Karen Parsons, and she didn't really have Hillary down at the time. Yeah,
it was and it was kind of monotone, but it was funny to see her outside of the element of Hillary. It was great to see her because she wasn't sure how to, how is it supposed to go?
who is this
Who is
character?
Hillary?
Yeah. It was interesting, too, when they were talking about the writing staff. And it was pretty much all white, and you continue to...
I'm sorry.
That's your shtick, though, at this point.
No, it's...
knocking over the recorder.
It's not my shtick.
Okay. She said how they're talking about the all white writing staff.
Uh-huh.
And they said at one point they wanted to make Hillary into this powerful black woman.
Yes.
And she commented that, well, sometimes you have more power if you just sew somebody as they are instead of trying to change them. Exactly.
But I loved how she evolved Hillary's character. I mean, she's not really an in-depth person, but that's what made her funny.
I don't think she really evolved that much.
Well, maybe not evolved. Maybe that's the wrong word. How she developed the character, I guess.
Okay.
Not so much evolving, because there was not a lot of she didn't really evolve a lot. But I liked how she developed her the way that she is.
Yes.
Yes.
Then they talked about James Avery. One thing I didn't know, I mean, obviously, I assumed he was into other arts. I didn't know by how much. And I thought it was cool that they had jazz on the special, because I know he's friends with Will, and he was a recurring character, but he wasn't on every single episode. You know what I mean? He wasn't an official cast member.
Oh, you're talking about jazz.
Yeah. That's what I just said.
Yes.
And at one point, Jeff's talking about how he would go to James Avery's trailer and they would listen to music together. And I thought, oh, wow, I never knew that.
I thought that, I had a feeling that maybe James Avery really liked a lot of music. I know that he played classical music in one of the episodes. And he's like, this is the most beautiful music. This is some of the most beautiful music you'll ever hear.
Well, they played that clip on the show.
Yeah, they did. They played that clip. And they said that he was well-rounded musically. Like, he liked jazz, and he liked all kinds of music, it seemed like. And that he was in a really great actor, and and then explaining how his relationship with Will was, especially. And
the infamous father episode.
The
scene that every fan of The Fresh Prince knows and has seen a billion times.
I know.
Yes.
And how he...
Why doesn't he want me, man?
Why doesn't he want me, man? And he collapses in his arms, and he's crying profusely. And then how James Avery whispers in his ear after the scene and says, now that's acting. Yeah.
I also really appreciated what they said about James Avery, that... he thought, and this is something that I share with him, that artists should look for inspiration in other art forms because it'll make them stronger.
Right.
And I'm wondering, have you had any experience doing that? Was there any time when you looked at a movie or listened to hip hop and it taught you something about playing the flute?
I really need to explore that, because somebody gave me some really good advice about improvising. And they said, you should listen to jazz vocalists, because when you're improvising on your instrument, it's almost like how a jazz vocalist would improvise with their voice. But you have to know, well, first off, you have to know the basic melody, and you have to know the chords that they're going into. But the biggest point was, listen to how they scat, because they're taking liberties with rhythms or taking liberties with notes, and, really listen to, because Ella Fitzgerald, specifically what this person was telling me, Ella Fitzgerald is known for her scatting, and she's very good. And, well, she's not here anymore. I think she died already. But I need to explore that. I really do. And I would imagine that even listening to a movie score or a movie soundtrack.
I'm thinking specifically about watching movies. Have
watching
you ever
movies?
Watched a movie that maybe doesn't even have to do with music, but it taught you something about how to play the flute differently? Because I'll have this stuff come up all the time with poetry.
Well, Mr. Holland's Opus, I think, is one good example. There's a scene in Mr. Holland's opus. Maybe this would answer your question better.
Okay.
There's a scene in Mr. Holland's opus where he's talking to a girl. I believe her name was Gertrude, I think. She played the clarinet. And he says, "Tell me what you like about yourself. What do you like about yourself?" And she's like, "I like my hair." And he says, "Why?" And she says, "Well, my dad says that my hair looks like the sunset." And he said, "Well, play your clarinet like the sunset." And that's an example of word painting.
And that helped you.
It helped me to think about what message I'm conveying when I'm playing a certain piece. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's classical, if it's rock, if it's pop. I'm a classically trained I was a classically trained flutist, so when I've played classical pieces in front of people, a teacher once told me, play it as if you're telling a story, and it really helps a lot. And the sunset description is something that's really helpful, I think, even if I haven't seen a sunset.
Nice, babes.
Yeah. Does that answer your question a little bit more?
It kind of does.
Okay.
Because I really resonated when they said that about James Avery. And it's one of those things that grows stronger as I get older. Mm-hmm. Especially from books, too. But anyway, so that was a standout from the special. And then, of course, we got to talk about the fact that I was already a big Will Smith fan.
Yes.
You know, I mean, is he my favorite rapper? No, but he was good at rapping.
Yeah.
I appreciate him more as an actor.
Yeah.
And I also like him when he talks about self-improvement. Mm-hmm. He really showed it on this special. And it was one of those things to where it didn't come across as fake. Because sometimes with celebrities, they'll do things and it comes across as their publicist told them to do that.
Or they were paid to say something like that.
Yeah. And I am, of course, talking about when he went to talk with Janet Hubert, mm-hmm. the best amphiv ever.
I know. She was the best. I will definitely agree with you on that one.
So I will tell you this. I was led to believe that she was very difficult to work with. It was all her fault.
Right.
And that's why they let her go, is because she was a prima donna. And that's why you never saw her in anything else.
And again. we came in before we even watched the special, both of us, and I didn't know about this. I wasn't really paying attention to why she had that beef with Will Smith.
Oh, it's been going on for years. She acknowledged the fact that she's criticized him in the press before. Right.
But I never really paid attention to it. But when you told me that that's what you were led to believe, and then hearing them talk and when Will, and this is something that it felt good to hear this when he said, I couldn't have a 30-year celebration without celebrating you and what you contributed to the show. Because he acknowledged that she brought a lot to the show in those 3 seasons. And he realized that, as I've gotten older, I've realized that I didn't make it easy for you.
Yeah, that was a big thing for me.
That was
not just acknowledging what she brought, but saying, hey, I acted immaturely. I was a young kid at the time. And he didn't have to do that. Like, he could have just said, we have to talk about Janet. She was a big part of the show. Unfortunately, she had some problems.
Right.
We wish her well. That's how most people would have handled it.
And what was really nice to see was that she acknowledged also her part in the feud.
Yeah.
And she cried and she said, I said some really bad things about you too,
I remember specifically, was it, I think 2015, Will Smith and Jada were talking about protesting the Oscars because not enough black people were nominated. Uh-huh. And she made like a YouTube video where she basically said, well, you want to talk about people? Let's talk about Will and what he did to the rest of the cast when I was on the show.
Right.
And there were other things too, but that's the one that stands out to me.
Oh, wow. Did that one go viral?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, wow.
But, so many things happen in life that it's easy to miss it.
And when she said, I know we, I know it's been a while. We haven't seen each other in 27 years, but I figured, now it's time, to put this all behind us. And, they basically buried the hatchet. And it really says a lot about his character.
Yeah.
As he's grown older, he's definitely improved, and he realizes, wait a minute, I have some fault in this too. I need to hold myself accountable and apologize for the wrong that I may have caused to her, because he didn't realize at the time that she was going through a lot of things.
And I really liked what he said about how I don't just want to be somebody who says that he's trying to work on himself, but doesn't go back and trying to fix those relationships that went bad. And I'm paraphrasing, but was the basic gist of something.
That really says a lot about the kind of person that he is with his family, the people that he meets, and just, because a lot of celebrities don't have to do that.
Yeah.
They can just say what they want and then go back home to their normal lives and just not even think about how other people perceive them.
Yeah, and I've told you, I can't remember if I've said it here, that I've met people who met him,
really,
like away from the cameras, and they say, if you didn't know he was Will Smith, you would just think that he's this guy who's super interested in who you are. Like they said that he doesn't talk about himself, but he's really interested to know about the person he's interacting with.
Wow, that says a lot.
Yeah.
That says a lot about somebody. And I may not agree, I may not agree with him on everything if I ever met him, of course, and I'm not going to. But for a celebrity, a big celebrity, to say, hey, I don't want to appear to be fake to anybody.
Yeah.
I want to be the real me, and I don't want to play games.
It's inspirational in a way.
It really is. It really made my heart feel good to hear that.
Yeah, it did me too.
And when Janet comes into the special, because
so let's talk about this too. So
all right,
I kind of told you my theory, which is that Will Smith is super famous.
Yes,
I'm sure he doesn't talk to Alfonso every single day of his life, but I bet that they probably talk over the phone like a couple times a year, right? And same with probably the rest of the cast, right? And he obviously had a hand in producing this special. I bet when he was starting to work on it, he talked to them on the phone, and maybe like the last minute or so, he would joke with Alfonso saying, and you never know, we might even get Janet back. They both probably had a good laugh. So this comes up because in the special, Janet comes out and everybody is acting surprised. You thought it was genuine, and my take on it was he probably talked to each of them the night before and said, hey, listen, things went well with Janet. You guys know I was interviewing her. And just so you're not shocked, she wants to come out tomorrow. We're going to pretend in front of the camera that I'm telling you this for the first time, but I want you to know now, just so you're not overwhelmed with the news.
And my theory was he didn't tell them that she was going to come on the show, and he just asked, well, how would you feel if she came out on the show? How would you take that? Would you be okay with it? Would you not be okay with it?
But you think that he asked during the taping of the special?
No.
Okay.
No. Privately.
Okay.
Because, I mean, if you're going to surprise someone, it should be a good surprise.
Right.
It shouldn't be a bad surprise. Because the worst thing that could have happened is they all get into a shouting match.
That would have been great television.
But I don't want to see that.
No.
It's a heartwarming special,
Yeah.
It's a nostalgic show for people that watched it in their pre-teens and teenage years, right? So, I mean, that was a big show that was one of my favorite shows watching when I was a kid. And I don't want to see that in a special. And I don't think Will wanted that to happen. But I think that maybe he may have said, how would you feel if she came on the special? Are you all right with that? Are you still angry with her? Do you feel like, it's been so many years that your anger has faded? and you want to make amends now. And I would imagine that he did talk to them a little bit and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking, or this is why I want to ask you this. Not to say that, oh, I'm going to have her on.
Yeah. It brought me back to old times when she comes out, she's hugging everybody, and she looks at Jeffrey and says, make me a sandwich.
Yeah.
No, she did not do that.
Jeffrey, can you take my bags, please?
Right. And throw Jazz out.
And how Jazz was saying that they had to tape it like 100 and some odd times.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny.
That was.
And then that one part where he says, well, remember when we were on tour, when this was going on, we were on tour and we were promoting, and Will was saying that, oh, I'm going to put on a TV show. And this is about the same time that, Quincy wanted him to audition, right? I think it was.
I think what happened was...
I forgot what it was.
If I remember correctly, and I could have the story a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
Will went to Quincy's house, and it was a day where they were touring, but they had like a free day for whatever.
Right.
He does the audition, then he comes back and says... Then they went on Arsenio, and he said, I'm going to be on a TV show. I just got cast.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that... And I thought that was really funny how Jazz was describing it.
Yeah.
And Jazz was like super, he was just as super laid back as he was on the show. But he was so funny.
Yeah.
It was just so funny. And they showed the clips where he was being thrown out.
That always makes me laugh. The one time I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember the episode where Will decides that he doesn't want to be friends with Jazz again?
Yes.
And then they play the Dean Martin song, Everybody Loves Somebody Sometime.
Yes.
He decides that he wants Jazz back in his life.
Uh-huh.
First of all, which I thought was kind of weak.
Uh-huh.
Why would he suddenly want him back as a friend? And then Jazz is like, could you do me a favor? And he's like, anything, man. And then he throws him outside. That episode does not work for me.
Oh, for old time's sake, right?
Yes, something like that, yeah. That did not work for me. That felt too shtick and too, 90s sitcom-y.
Mm. I, myself, don't have that feeling like you do.
Okay.
Yeah. But I thought it was really cool because he wasn't a regular all the time. He would be like.
Well, I think you would say he was a regular, but
he was a regular, but he wasn't part of the cast. Yeah.
Yes.
And I just thought he was like I just thought he was so funny.
Yes, it was a great special, babes.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
All right. So should we move to the rice? So maybe we should say we could have had dinner at around 4:30. We ended up eating at around 7.
It wasn't around 7.
It was.
No. Well, when did we start? When did we stop? When we stopped, it was already 7. We had it about. Might have been 5 or 6.
No, babe, it was around 7.
Was it?
We didn't get to the movies until 7:30 last night.
Oh.
Maybe 7:30 or 8, somewhere around that.
Oh, well, whatever it was. Yeah, we had a late start.
All right, so I am not a believer in the rice cooker. I make a lot of rice on the stovetop. And Alana keeps telling me, rice cookers are so easy and they're so simple. And,
They are. Well, and let me just give our listeners some context here. I've cooked in rice cookers before. I mean, all you have to do is put however many cups of rice and however many cups of water, what the ratio is from rice to water. Wash the rice at least 1 to 3 times, depending on how much rice you made. And then put it in the rice cooker, plug it in, and turn it on, and it heats up, and you just have to make sure you check on the rice.
In theory, that works.
And I just think it's the easiest way instead of worrying about boiling water and rice in pans. But
it did not seem like the easiest way last night. Tell me.
Okay, so I go to cook some rice for lunch. I assume I did it correctly, and I assume that I put enough water in there. Well,
And this was after we recorded because we talked about another rice incident that was similar. So this is 2 times in a row, but keep going.
This is the first batch of rice that I make. And I'm not happy with it. So I serve us 2 bowls of chicken adobo because I had enough to share with Rick. And I decide, okay, I'm going to make rice for me and see how that comes out. It didn't come out well. It was very undercooked and I was not happy. And I was like, I'm not going to give you this rice. And you suggested that maybe you should throw out this rice and make a new batch of rice.
Because you wanted to have some with dinner for the leftover roasted chicken we'd made.
Right. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to dump out this rice and I'm going to make another thing of rice. Well, I made several phone calls to my mom.
And you made me contact some friends.
I did, but I wanted to see what they said. And what was confusing was when I cooked the rice the first time, I didn't know there was a button in the middle of the cook and the warm buttons. And we couldn't figure out what it was. And until you watched a video, right? And
yeah, because even though you've used one, not only do I prefer cooking on the stovetop, but I've never used a rice cooker before. And this button was not labeled.
Right. And so both of us did not know what that was for until you saw it. And it's actually the button you press when it's cooking.
Yes, to make it cook.
To make it cook.
Because there was something on the side of it, on the left-hand side that says cook.
Right.
And so I thought that you press that button, but you push this button down, and that on the left is just to indicate that it's actually cooking.
So, okay, so that part was, and then I realized, well, wait a minute. I was talking to said relative, and she said the only way that it would be undercooked is if you didn't add enough water. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do that. So I finally unplugged it. And I thought, okay, I am going to make this work. So
and I'm starving, crying out for food at this time. But keep going.
No, he's not.
Okay, keep going, babes.
But you were a little irritated.
I was, but I also thought it was funny too because I could have made rice very easily, but keep going.
Yeah. So I decide to put an extra cup of water in there and mix it around. And then I resumed to cooking it some more. You were a little bit worried that it was going to burn.
Because at one point it smelled like it was burning.
Yeah, but it wasn't burning. And so I checked it with a spoon and it was just the right consistency that I wanted. So it wasn't too soggy or too undercooked. It was fine. So now I realize that what really happened was I didn't add enough water.
So you didn't do the ratios right, it sounds like.
Either I didn't do the ratios right or the cup I was using was too small.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's right, because you decided to use an alternative cup.
It was the cup that actually came with the rice cooker, but the cup I was using was on the container of rice that I was using to store. Okay,
so run this through me because that sounds a little bit confusing.
I'll have to show you the cups.
All right, but let's before you do that, you put your rice in a rice container with the cup, and you decided to use that cup instead of the cup that came with the rice cooker itself.
Yes, because my relative who bought me the rice cooker, she said, "Oh, you could use either cup."
Oh, apparently she was wrong.
I guess she must have been.
So after we eat.
Or it could be that I just didn't fill the cup all the way.
Okay, so we get done eating, and I had texted a friend of mine who is, by most indications, a genius.
A genius?
You know, he really is.
Okay.
No, babe, he's a straight-up genius.
Oh, okay.
And
I'll take your word, I guess.
You know, I had told you several times, babe, I could just do this on the stovetop very easily. Not only is he a genius, he has much experience cooking rice. He's cooked it for many, many years. So he calls me back because I texted him. And we're talking about it, and I say, we're playing with this rice cooker, and we couldn't get it to work right. And he's like, well, yes, Rick, I've used rice cookers many times. But he has an Indian accent because he's Indian, and I always imitate him to him, so that's why I slipped into that. And He says, but I prefer cooking it on the stovetop. And I'm like, thank you. So do I. This is why you're a genius. And I hung up the phone.
And I said, I'm sorry. I disagree with the both of you.
Wow. A man.
Because I grew up with a lot of rice. I grew up with a family that had a rice cookers in their houses.
Okay.
And I know how they work.
Right.
But it's just that this one was confusing to me, which it shouldn't have been confusing to me. I really wish they would have labeled that button. But now that I know what I did wrong, yes. I can make better rice and tastier rice.
That's good. So it will not take 3 to 4 hours.
No. Now that I know what mistake that I made, I know I am much clearer on that.
Nice. Well, you seem a little pent up, so let me give you a kiss so you can come.
I'm not pent up.
Well, let's just say you are.
Any excuse for a kiss.
Oh, what ifs, babes. You like it too, so what ifs?
I do, actually. Yes.
So we had a good dinner last night.
We did. We certainly did. After everything was calmed down and I was happy with the rice and
you're like, I'm going to get that rice done right, okay?
No, I was very determined. Yes. And I wasn't going to give up. You know, I don't quit very easily.
Yes.
Yeah, as you know already. You should know that.
I do. But it would have been super easy for me to just,
Well, I wanted to do something different.
Okay.
And I wanted to do something for the both of us.
That's true. I appreciate that, babes. I do appreciate that.
And I do want to see how the butter thing with the rice works, because I've never made rice with butter.
I like putting some butter in my rice and lemon juice with a zest. Yes.
And a little bit of Parmesan cheese, maybe some cheddar cheese.
Cheddar cheese is for afterwards.
Oh, afterwards. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Parmesan cheese.
So back in my bachelor days, and we're talking way back when I was in my mid-20s, like, 2006 going forward, a lot of times what I would do for dinner was buy those jambalaya packages of rice.
Are you talking about like the Zatarain stuff?
Yes.
Oh, I heard those are good.
That was my favorite back in the day. I'd go to the dollar store.
We should do that one time.
Get some. Well, I did it a lot back in the day. We could do it sometime.
Oh, I love that. I don't get to eat that very much.
Yep. So I'd get some Zatarain. I'd buy some like ragu, and I'd chop up some vegetables, cook them up, then throw on some cheddar cheese and a little bit of sour cream.
Oh, that would be so good.
Back in the day, yeah.
That would be so good. That could be like that could be a meal that we do, because I don't buy those things often. I mean, in fact, I don't think I've had them.
Really?
I don't think I have. I've been wanting to try the Zatarain stuff because I heard they're good.
It
like
is.
Like red beans and rice, and then they have the jambalaya stuff, and I do like a jambalaya if it's made right. Yeah.
I liked it back in the day.
Yeah. Well, we had jambalaya when I was a student at the blind school. There were times where we would have jambalaya for dinner, but I'm not exactly sure if that was that may have been authentic jambalaya, but I thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean, the Zatarain's is like a very cheap imitation of it. It's not the real thing, but
no,
it's fun rice.
It's fun rice, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to try that.
Yes. Alana.
Yes.
Speaking of fun. In 1997, I was excited because...
Oh, really?
Yes. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Quentin Tarantino, who had written and directed at that point Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, and he'd done other stuff. Like he did a segment in this movie called Four Rooms, but I never saw that.
Okay.
He had also written and co-starred in From Dusk Till Dawn, which is a fun movie, was releasing his next film called Jackie Brown. And I found out that it was coming out on my birthday. Since I was a film nerd, I was very excited to watch it.
Very good.
I go to the movie theater that night, and it surpassed my expectations.
Wow.
Bought the soundtrack, listened to that a lot, saw the movie 7 more times in the theater, many more times on TV and home video.
Wow.
And then last night, I got the pleasure of showing you one of my favorite films, Jackie Brown. What did you think, babes?
For the most part, I liked it. expletives and racial epithets aside,
Type
because there's a lot of them.
You would only say to like a group of preschoolers. Go ahead. White preschoolers, babe. White preschoolers. No.
But I kid. No. It was a very interesting storyline. We had some very interesting characters.
Do you want me to give an overview?
Yes.
Okay. So it starts off, Jackie is running to her plane because he's a flight attendant for Cabo Airlines. Then we go to the apartment of Melanie, where she is hanging out and watching a gun video with Ordell Roby and Lewis, who is Ordell's good friend, and he just got released from spending 4 years in prison for a bank robbery. Mm-hmm. Ordell goes to the phone and finds out that an associate of his, Beaumont Livingston, has been arrested. Mm-hmm. So he decides to go down to get him bailed out. He sees this bondsman named Max Sherry, gives him the money. Max gets him bailed out. Ordell pays him a visit, says, I know it's late at night, you're home, but I want you to get dressed up and come out with me because I'm selling some weapons to people. And I have a rule. Never do business with people you haven't done business with before without backup. He guilt trips Beaumont to get into the trunk and tells him, hey, when I open this, I want you to jump out and point this gun at people.
Right.
Just as a demonstration.
Right.
Sets the trunk door, gets in the car, plays some good music.
I think he may have played the Delphonics.
Yes.
Or one of them.
Hello, my love. I heard a kiss from you. Anyways.
Is that from the Delphonics?
I think that is.
Oh, no, it's from the Brothers Johnson.
Oh, you're right. That's Strawberry Leather.
That's Strawberry Leather.
That is the Brothers Johnson.
Da, 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 da,
I don't know why I said that. I should know that.
You should know that, love.
I think because they play the Delphonics so much in this movie.
It's one of your favorite songs.
Yes.
And that's one of my favorort songs.
Yes, but because they played them so much in that movie, it kind of throws me off a little bit.
Goodness.
Anyways.
Yes.
So, Ordell puts on his gloves, drives around, takes his gun, opens the trunk, and kills Beaumont.
Right.
Okay. Next scene, Jackie Brown is walking through the parking lot of the airport. She just got home, and the ATF stops her. They say that they want to look through her bag just to make sure everything's okay. She cops a little bit of an attitude, but eventually she gives in. They find $50,000. Mm-hmm. They fast forward. She's in their office. They're talking, and they're explaining, look, you don't really have a lot of options here. You're at the end of the road. You really got to either help us out, or it's going to take a year of your life away, and it's not going to be pretty. You're going to be out of work.
You're going to be in prison. Yep.
So Ray, one of the ATF agents, looks through her bag again, and then looks through the she empties her bag. He looks through the envelope with the money and finds some cocaine. Mm-hmm. She goes to jail. They have a hearing. Ordell's in the back of the room. He goes out, talks to Max Cherry, the bail bondsman again, gets her to spring Jackie Brown.
Yes.
He takes her to a club. They drink, drops her off. She steals his gun. Ordell is watching this. Mm-hmm. Doesn't realize that the gun was taken.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Goes in to try to kill her. She pulls out the gun after the lights are off. And they negotiate. Mm-hmm. He leaves. The next morning, Max comes over. And I love this scene. She plays the Delphonics, not the Brothers Johnson.
And they're having coffee.
Yes. And she talks about getting older. And he talks about it and what it's like. Mm-hmm. And she tells him, listen, I'm going to go in and talk with the ATF and see if I can get a deal. She does that. She needs immunity to leave the country. She gets it. She talks to Ordell, tells him the deal, that they're going to do a test run with like $10,000 because all of his money is in Cabo. Mm-hmm. And then after the test run, she's going to bring in $500,000. Ordell is going to have her meet some random lady at the shopping market in the food court. They're going to exchange bags the first time. But the second time, she's going to go into a fitting room and exchange bags there away from the ATF agents. Mm-hmm. So some more stuff happens. I'm not going to get into everything because I'm going wrong. I'm going along. But Melanie and Lewis start to form a relationship. Mm-hmm. And Lewis is this quiet guy. He's a little bit aloof.
Yep.
But he's an interesting person. And there's actually supposedly a book about Lewis and Ordell that I want to read some point. Yeah, because this is an adaptation of a book. But we'll get there.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, the relationship between Jackie and Max gets stronger. They see each other at the food court one day, and Ordell is watching them, but they don't know that. He just randomly starts watching them. Mm-hmm. And he kind of gets let in on what the plan is from Jackie's end because she needs him. So fast forward, they do the run with the $10,000. It goes well, but Jackie is a little bit concerned because she meets Sharonda.
Yeah.
But then Sharonda, after exchanging bags with Jackie, exchanges bags with Simone, another girl that Ordell knows. Yes. Simone ends up taking the money and running. Mm-hmm. So that means when they do the real thing, Ordell is going to send Melanie and Lewis. Mm-hmm. So we get to the day of. Jackie gets the money, $500,000, but she had told Ray, the ATF guy, I have dyslexia, that Ordell got really nervous and he's only bringing in $50,000. So he marks the money. They have an exchange in the car where she says, hey, you want to steal any of this money ever? And that leads to an interesting conversation. She goes in to the mall, goes to the dressing room, takes the money out of her bag, the $500,000, puts it into this other bag and puts beach towels on top of it. Mm-hmm. Actually, she puts $40,000 in.
Right.
Because Melanie comes, she puts $10,000 on top and says, hey, this is for you because Ordell never does anything for us.
Yeah.
So we should say that on the way, meaning getting ready and actually driving to the mall.
Yep.
Melanie and Lewis were having a few conflicts.
Yeah, they were.
He felt that she wasn't taking it seriously enough. Uh-huh. So he's already upset.
Yeah.
They get to the dressing room or the department store. The
department store, yep.
Yeah. And he wants her to stand by him.
Yeah.
And says, you're making a lot of noise. You're bringing too much attention to us. At one point, he tries to grab her.
He said, are you going to let go?
Yeah, really loud. So they leave. They're in the parking lot, and she's just like making fun of him. She's like, hey, did you ever have to find your car when you robbed banks?
Yeah, it's like, where is it, Lewis? Is it down this aisle? And she's like...
condescending.
Antagonizing him.
Being like, treating him like a little kid.
Yes.
And he warns her, and then finally he does what some people do, and he kills her. And then he finds the getaway van.
Yep.
So he leaves. Jackie leaves the fitting room. Mm-hmm. And remember, there's beach towels on top of the money in a bag.
Yep.
Max is watching this. She tells the cashier that somebody left a bag in there with beach towels on it.
Right.
So Max goes up to the counter. He says, hey, my wife thinks you left a bag. Can I go in there? Yeah. He gets it. It has the money.
Yep.
Jackie goes into the mall and yells out for Ray and says that Melanie ran into the fitting room and stole the money.
Yep.
So that leads to something. She has to go to his office.
Yep.
While she's there, Lewis picks up Ordell and basically says, she was, Melanie, she was getting kind of antsy. She was mouthing off at me. And you know how I am with that. And Ordell just
really annoying me.
Yeah. Ordell just wants him to get to the point. He's like,
and she's like, wait, you shot her?
You shot Melanie?
You shot her.
Is she dead? Yes or no?
She did.
I
thought that was funny because he was like, wait, you shot her?
Well, I didn't think you would do that. And he's like, well, the last thing we want is that woman living on us. Hope she's dead. And then he looks and he's like, there's only like 40,000 here.
Yeah. He's like, what happened? Where's the rest of it?
Yeah. They pull over. They start talking. And Lewis says, you know who I saw there? I thought it was really odd. I mean, now that you mention it, it was kind of weird. And he just keeps going on.
You know, he passed by me too.
Yeah. And then he's like, who was it? And he says, Max Sherry. And then
he's like, what?
He gets upset.
Yeah.
Ordell does. And he eventually ends up just killing Lewis.
Yeah, because he's basically told him, you're not useful to me anymore.
He says, what happened, man? Your ass used to be beautiful. Which says so much about their friendship. But we're going to get to that.
Yeah, okay. That says a lot, I guess.
No, it does to me.
It does to you.
Ordell leaves the van, and we know that he had a getaway car stashed nearby that nobody really knew about. He drives over to Sharonda's place that he's paying for, and it's really messy.
Really messy.
While this is going on, Jackie is being interrogated by Ray, and he's trying to put this together, like, what happened? You know, you weren't supposed to go and get an outfit, and especially with all this hanging over your head.
Right, exactly.
And they already found Melanie's body with some of the money stuffed in her shorts.
Yep.
Then somebody comes in. Ray leaves. Jackie kind of starts crying. Ray comes back and says, Lewis is dead. We think Ordell did it.
Yeah.
And, you know, whatever you have going on between you and Ordell, that's between you and him. And then he just says, don't do anything stupid. And I hope for your sake that we find him before
he finds you.
Exactly.
Yep.
So now Ordell is hiding out. I think he calls Max's office.
Yep.
And he says, hey, listen, this can go down two ways. Either you give me my money back, or if the cops come here, I rat on Jackie and we both go to jail.
Yep.
So Max goes over there. And he says that Jackie wants to give him the money in person.
Yep. So she really wants to give you the money in person.
She's scared of you.
She's scared of you. She's afraid. You know, why is she at the office? Like, well, she's afraid of you. You know, she's at my office. She's afraid of you. You know, well, He's like, okay, well, I'm going to call her and she better answer.
She did.
She did.
And then he says, okay, we're going to go there. They drive off, and I love this. He turns on the car, and the Delphonics starts playing.
I didn't know you listened to the Delphonics.
They're good.
They're good.
And he learned about them from Jackie.
Yeah.
When he went over to her house to
good
get his
taste
gun.
in music.
Yes. They go there, and Ordell stops the car in the parking lot, and he says, okay, you know, she better give me my money back. Mm-hmm. And it better just be her in here, or else I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to shoot her in the knees.
Yep.
And she will tell me where my money is. And then he's like, all right, last chance. Is there anybody else in there? Anything else you want to tell me about? He's like, nope. He's like, you sure? He's like, yep. He's like, okay. They go in. Ray comes out, kills Ordell.
Yep.
Jackie's trying to act it up. She's like, remember when you said you hoped that you would find him before you found me? Mm-hmm. Well, Ray, it looks like you found him. She's just like acting it up.
Right. But remember that part where he goes in and it's dark, right?
Yes.
And he's like, hey, why is it dark in here? He's like,
yes.
Hey, Jackie.
And then she's like, Ray's got a gun. Anyways, so 3 days later, Max is coming out of the bathroom after peeing and not washing his hands.
You know that.
Yes.
You know that?
Well, yeah, because you don't hear him wash his hands. And there's this great scene earlier in the movie where Ordell comes to the office to get money.
Oh, yes.
To get Jackie bailed out. And he does the same thing. And he comes out. Max says, I said right. And Max comes out of the bathroom and Ordell is like, I didn't hear you wash your hands.
I thought to laugh at that.
Yes. But anyways, Max comes out of the bathroom and Jackie's sitting there and they have this conversation and she says that she's going to go away to Madrid, offers Max to come with her. Mm-hmm. He says no. She's like, are you scared of me, Max? And he's like, a little bit. They start kissing. Somebody calls. He answers the phone. She goes out, steals Ordell's car or borrows it from a dead person.
She steals it.
Drives away as we hear Bobby Womack singing 110th Street, which is the same song that opened the movie. And that's...
And we don't find out what happens with Max and Jackie. They just kiss each other.
Well, I mean, presumably that's the end of their relationship, and she sends him a postcard. But it's kind of like a very cool footnote in both of their lives. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the movie, babes.
It was, yeah. She was a very smart lady.
Yes.
Very smart. I mean, she could have messed this thing up royally and either gotten killed or put in prison.
Well, it's more than that. Like, Max could have taken the money and left, too. Right. Because when they meet at the mall in the food court, he says, well, I decided to retire. Like, what's stopping him from just going away?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Right.
What do you think of... There's so much to digest here.
There's so much, yeah.
Let's start with Lewis and Ordell. What do you think of their relationship?
They have a very dysfunctional relationship, I think.
Oh, see, I think that Ordell loves Lewis like a brother. And when he kills him, it's only because he feels betrayed by him. Because he remembers Lewis in his youth when Lewis was at the height of his powers and probably a very caring person to Ordell. And he wanted to return the favor. And he felt that Lewis screwed him over. What do you think?
I don't know. I just thought it was dysfunctional to me.
Okay. I think that Ordell really loved Lewis, though.
But he kills him to show him that he loves him.
No, he kills him in the heat of the moment, and he kills him because he thinks that Lewis betrayed him. Okay. Because at one point in the car, he's like, are you sure that Melanie's not in a hotel room with the rest of my money?
Right. Yeah.
So, as long as we're talking about Lewis, what does this film teach us about the aging criminal?
You mean like...
Well, Lewis is older.
Yes.
And presumably he's no longer in his prime. Because he used to rob banks.
Right.
And we know that he used to do things for Ordell, or we can at least assume that based on how close they were. That he probably looked out for him when he was younger. And now Ordell wants to look out for Lewis in his later years.
Yes.
So what does this teach us about the older criminal, if anything?
I'm not sure. I haven't even thought about that. I mean, I just saw it last night. I just thought, I don't know. I didn't even think about if they had any kind of like good relationship before this all went down.
Oh, I'm assuming that they were very tight before this. Well, maybe we move it off of that.
Okay.
This film it says so much about age because if you remember when Max and Jackie are having coffee in her apartment, age comes up a lot. Like she says, I can't afford to start over. Max
I remember
is getting
that.
out of the business. People remind Jackie that she can't just throw away a year of her life.
I remember that because she's like, she asks Max, like, how do you feel about getting older? It's like, well, it's no big deal, you know. It's
well, yeah. Well, first he says, "Well, you look great." And
well, you look great. No, I meant, how do you feel about? I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I just don't think about it.
I guess a couple years ago, I got a little self-conscious about my hair, so I did something.
I did something about it.
Did you feel better? Well, and he's like, yeah, I mean, I did it to feel better about myself, and I do. As you can tell, I've seen this movie a lot.
Yeah, it was kind of distracting when you started quoting.
Sorry. But then there's also the stuff with Ordell. At one point, he's having a drink with Lewis in a bar, and he says... Melanie complains a lot more than she used to, and she's not as young as she used to be. So age comes up a lot in this film.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Yes.
What do you think about what this film teaches us about age?
I guess maybe that people handle it differently, I guess. Some people are okay with it, and other people are like, I can't start over. My life is pretty much done. Or, you know, I can't... I'm too old to start something again.
Okay.
I don't know.
I look at this film and its relationship to age. It's telling us that sometimes people let the clock run out on their opportunities. And they realize sometimes too late that all their chances are gone because they no longer have youth on their side. And that can be a really hard thing to deal with.
Right.
Oftentimes, or I guess always, it ends in death. But oftentimes it ends in an uncomfortable death. Whether being shot in a parking lot or shot in a getaway van.
Now, do you also feel like it also teaches us that when we're younger, what am I saying? Like using your, spending the years in your prime wisely. Do you think that it addresses that?
Yes, because these characters all have regrets in a way.
Yeah.
Like, Ordell's planning to leave the business. He brags about the money he's bringing in, but he tells Lewis at the beginning of the film that he's planning to leave and spend the rest of his life spending.
Right.
Why would he do that if he enjoyed his work?
Yeah.
Melanie's getting older. Jackie knows she's getting older. Max is leaving the bail bondsman world.
Right.
These are all characters who I think feel, in some sense, like their best days are behind them.
Yeah.
And that they should have done more with their best days.
Right. Yep.
Yes. What does this film teach us about manipulation?
Manipulation. Well, and I could be completely wrong about this, but when I was thinking about this, you could use manipulation to your advantage, and it can go in a totally different direction that you don't want to go, or it can go in your favor. You just...
Maybe I could rephrase the question.
Yes.
If you don't mind.
If I don't mind. I don't mind.
What do we learn or have confirmed about trust from this movie?
Well, I want to hear what you think first before I come up with my answer.
Okay. So Jackie screws over everybody except for Max. Ordell is basically just getting what he wants out of people.
Right.
Except for Lewis, who I think he generally cares about. Everybody else is just sort of an object. Max is rewarded, and Ordell and Lewis are basically... Lewis more is like screwed over by the system.
Yeah.
Lewis is screwed over, and Ordell is screwed over by Jackie. But Max is rewarded for trusting.
Right.
And this is interesting symbolism because Lewis and Max, while we sympathize with them, they are on the wrong side of the law.
Yeah, they are.
Jackie's sort of like the in-between point. She's done some stuff that is wrong, but you kind of see that she doesn't have a lot of options in life.
Right, yeah.
And Max is like the rock. He's represented as being on the right side of the law. So because of that, Max gets the benefit of not being screwed over. And he's not being screwed over. And he didn't screw over Jackie because he could have taken the money and run.
He could have, yeah.
Ray is also on the right side of the law. And yeah, it would have been nice to have caught Ordell with all this money, but at the end he gets his man. So I don't know if that helps, but it seems like the people who are criminals in this movie pretty much all die, except for Jackie, but she's in the gray area.
Right.
And the people who are represented as law enforcement end up with something out of this.
Right.
It may not be what they want, right? They only get it partially. Max wanted a relationship with Jackie. He didn't get that, but he got some money out of it. And, Ray got his man, but he didn't get the money either. What do you think of that? I mean, I guess I'm asking two questions. What does it say about trust? And what does it teach us about getting what we want?
Well, I think if you spend your life trying to get whatever you want out of people and you're using them, right?
Yes.
As Ordell he used a lot of women, which we see, not even caring about what they're going through. And he's, used a lot of people to get money, except for Lewis, like you said. But you know, you do that, and it may end up biting you in the end. And Jackie, and you're right. I think Jackie is a go-between between all of this.
Do you think that she uses Max? I mean, she gives him money, but that's not the only reason he's in it. He's in it because he wants to spend more time around her. Mm-hmm. And she knows that. Mm-hmm. She doesn't say it at the beginning, but she knows.
Well, it's possible she may have, because remember at the end when they kiss each other and she's like, you have to run your business, Max.
When the phone is ringing.
When the phone is ringing. Like, okay, I think I should go, you know. Mm-hmm. I gotten what I wanted to get out of it, and it's time for me to go. And Max is left looking at the window as she drives off, right?
Yes.
He's probably thinking, oh, what could have been, you know, what might have been if this would have worked out.
What do you think Max's life looks like after this experience?
Maybe he keeps on being a bail bondsman for maybe another year and then he stops. I don't know.
But do you think his last years are happy ones?
It's possible. I don't know. Maybe they are. Or maybe maybe if they didn't turn out the way he wanted it to, he's trying to make it into a different outcome. I don't know. He doesn't seem like in the movie anyway, he doesn't seem like a very sad person to me.
He seems like a guy who's seen a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And he wants to have a good life for himself. And he's like, well, I'm getting older, but, people get old. And I just want to enjoy growing old.
What do you think happens to Jackie after this?
Well, she said she's going to Spain. Maybe she rethinks her life and says, maybe I don't want to be a flight attendant anymore.
I mean, I think she definitely does that. Maybe I should rephrase. Does she find satisfaction in life?
I would hope that she does. Maybe she does. I can't say, but I would hope that she does.
How does this experience change her?
Because she did some risky things with money.
Yes.
And smuggling, even if it wasn't her drugs, she smuggled it in. Maybe she reflected on, who she could trust and who she couldn't trust. I don't know.
I think that. I think that it also, really makes her look at her relationship with, how can I be around people? Not just whether I can trust them, but how do I be me? Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense. Right.
Yeah. Yep, that's true. I mean, I think that I would think that there's a time in a person's life where they look at that when they get much older and they look at their life as they were when they were much younger, and they think, they think more about relationships and, I should have kept this person around, or
I should have got rid of this one sooner.
Right. Or, this relationship was so toxic.
Yes.
I should have just got rid of them when I had the chance, or I should have really connected with this person more.
This film is an adaptation of an Elmore Leonard novel called Rum Punch. Mm. It's the only book of his I've read, but I've heard that he uses the characters in the book, in other books. Like, somebody told me that there's a book about Lewis and Ordell's friendship, like when they met in the jail. Uh-huh. I don't know if that person was lying to me, but I definitely want to check that book out at some point.
Well, hopefully they weren't lying to you,
yes.
Whoever it was.
What are you grabbing there, babes?
Oh, it's just Melaleuca oil.
Oh, good. It's really interesting because in the book, Jackie's white, and in the movie, she's black.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought is a great twist.
Well, what about Ordell and, was Ordell and Lewis in that book?
Yes. I read the book a while ago, and honestly, the movie's much better.
Okay. And how was what kind of a character was Ordell?
kind of the same as,
as he is in the movie.
if I remember correctly, yeah.
What about Lewis and the rest?
Pretty much the same.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But
you thought the movie was much better.
yeah, as far as I remember. Now, again, the book wasn't that memorable to me, but that doesn't mean that other people don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I am so glad I showed you this film. Mm-hmm. And it seems like you liked it.
I did. I mean, it's not my favorite, but I liked it. I mean, I know that you're like one of your ultimate favorite ones, but
Top 5.
I mean, yeah.
Do you get why it would be in my top 5 favorite films?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff in it that makes for a really good movie.
Great music.
And the music is great, yes.
Very interesting story.
Yeah.
I think teaches us a lot about age and friendship and trust. Would you recommend this film to anybody?
I would. I think I think some of my relatives would like it, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it has action. There's a little bit of romance in there. There's a really good, crazy plot line with money, and I think there's a little bit of something for everybody. Well, not for teenagers, but.
Which is, I was a teenager when I first saw this. But
okay, well, I don't know if the teenagers of my family would like it.
they sound a little bit more sheltered than I was.
Well, no, they've watched some rated R stuff.
Okay.
They watch it with their parents.
Yeah.
Not by themselves, but they've watched some things that were not necessarily age appropriate.
Nice.
But they weren't that sheltered.
Oh, good.
But they understand, Sorry. They understand why it wouldn't be age appropriate.
Yeah, so maybe you give your relatives a heads up. Hey, this movie has some strong language, a lot of violence, but if you can stick with it, it's a great movie.
Right.
I'm very glad to hear that. Another thing I love about this movie is the guy doesn't get the girl at the end.
No, so it wasn't like a cliche romantic.
Yeah, they kiss, but they don't end up together at the end.
No, they don't. And why do you think it's because it's different?
It's a different movie because it's more realistic. I also think that this is the most realistic Quentin Tarantino movie that I've ever seen because.
Oh, I was going to ask you about something, and it's on a side note about the movie.
Go ahead.
How did you know that that Quentin Tarantino was the voice on the answering machine?
Because it's his voice. If you've ever heard of him in interviews or watched his acting, it's definitely his voice.
That is so funny.
Yes. But his films are more like... They're more like fantasy films. Like, I love Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs and From Dusk Till Dawn. And there's some good things in Death Proof even. And Django is okay. Mm-hmm. But they're fantasy. This feels more like it. You could see this happening in real life.
Right. Right.
Does this movie make you want to see any more Quentin Tarantino movies?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't answer that. I don't know. I mean, just because I like this one, I don't know if I'm going to like... I don't know if I want to see Pulp Fiction, especially because of that one scene that everybody talks about.
Yes. And
I don't like watching scenes like that. I just don't like watching scenes like that. I know. I mean, I'm glad I don't have to see it, but I have to hear it.
It's crazy. This was his follow-up to Pulp Fiction.
Oh.
And I think because of that, it didn't get the love of his other movies.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Because Pulp Fiction was more popular than all of them.
It's such a huge watershed movie.
Yeah.
It changed a lot of pulp culture. And this movie is great, but it doesn't have that same effect. It's a slower burn.
Oh, wow.
But I think because of that, this film has held up really well because people get to discover it and get to see something completely different. It's the same type of setting of his other movies, but it's handled differently, I feel.
Yeah.
Yes. So good. You would recommend this to people.
I would.
Good. Well, thank you again, babes, for letting me show you Jackie Brown.
Yes.
Yes.
And I showed you another movie.
you showed me Crooklyn, oddly enough, by a director who got upset with Quentin Tarantino for making Jackie Brown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Spike Lee, when Jackie Brown was released, he came out against Tarantino and said, hey, I don't like the fact that the N-word is used so much in Jackie Brown.
Uh-huh.
And they had a feud. I don't know if they still disagree with each other, but they did for a while.
How did you feel about Samuel L. Jackson being the one to
use it?
To use it.
He wasn't very happy.
Okay.
Which is odd because Samuel L. Jackson has worked with Spike Lee before, but he played Gator in Jungle Fever. Do the Right Thing, I think, right?
I don't know because I don't remember watching any of those movies.
Okay, but I gave my highfalutin description of Crooklyn, of Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown, not Crooklyn. I was the one who showed you Crooklyn.
Yes. So why don't you talk a little bit about Crooklyn?
So I know that you were not like a huge fan of like overall of Spike Lee movies,
right?
But I thought that this movie was. You may like this one because I used to watch this movie when I was a teenager and I enjoyed it. I did like the music. It starts off really crazy, as you know, because it showcases a Brooklyn neighborhood. There's a lot of poor people there, and I believe they live in like a project area. Would you say that?
Yes.
Kind of like in a low income area. So there's like a mixture of different kids. There's like, Puerto Rican families, black families, several different types of people on the block. And so, the main family is the Carmichaels. You have, Carolyn and Woody Carmichael. They're the mother, the couple. And then they have, 5 kids. They've got 4 boys and a girl whose name is Troy. I don't know why they called her Troy. It's a guy's name. Anyway, but she is the main character in this movie, and it shows like what's going on in the neighborhood and how they have to send her to get the groceries, and they're not a rich family; they're very poor. Her father, Woody, is a struggling musician that wants to play his music and wants to make a living out of playing his music. Her mother, Carolyn, is this very controlling, yells a lot. She's kind of crazy. She's a crazy mama. Would you say overbearing as well?
I might even use the C word, but keep going.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't go that far.
Okay. Well, I mean, the word popped into my mind when it's 4 a.m. in the morning and she gets all the kids. And I thought, but I won't say the word.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yes.
Crazy. Why would you do that? But
Real see you next Tuesday.
Oh my goodness.
But go ahead, babe. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Her. Keep going, babes.
Anyway, so this whole thing is going on. It's a crazy, crazy neighborhood. There's a scene in the movie where she talks to her mother in the beginning, and she says, "Well, how would you like to go down south to spend a month with your Aunt Song, Uncle Clem, and Cousin Viola?" And she's like, "No, I don't want to go." And she's very used to her neighborhood. She's used to fighting off boys because she has to deal with her brothers. But she doesn't have a lot of privacy because she's the only girl in the family. And she's like, "No, it would be great. You could spend time with them, get out of this neighborhood for a little bit." And they're having some financial problems with, her husband isn't paying the rent on time because he's struggling financially. And at one time they go through a brief separation because she's trying to figure out what's going on. She's trying to take care of the kids, and she had this idea in her head that her husband isn't pulling any weight around, and things are going on with that, and so I'm kind of skipping around because there's a lot in the movie.
Yeah.
They decide to take a trip down south. Tommy, who's like the neighborhood singer.
Stylistics.
the Delphonics.
Is it the Delphonics?
The Delphonics and the Stylistics and other stuff. And he's like, you know what? And Mr. Carmichael says, you know what, Tommy? If anybody tries to bother you on our stoop, just sing, okay? Just sing as loud as you. So they leave to go down south because they're dropping off Troy and dropping off her other brother to another relative's house in the south. So she goes to the south. And her aunt is very controlling as well. So she takes out everything in her hair because her hair is put up in braids and beads and things. That's what they do with their hair in Brooklyn, I guess, in her family. So she takes him out, and she's like she's a girl from the streets, of Brooklyn.
And 1970s streets, we should say.
Is it?
That's when the film is based.
Okay. And, she's different than Viola, who grew up in the South. She's very sheltered. And her, you can tell because of the program they're watching. I thought it was really funny.
Some Jesus show.
I laugh at that scene all the time. I laugh at that scene all the time. And then the kid shows that they're watching, whatever it was. And, how, the mother's very controlling, and she all she cares about is her little dog Queenie.
And Jesus.
Well, yeah, but the dog. She cares more about the dog than her own adopted daughter, and Viola is adopted.
Yes. Yeah,
she's like, don't worry. You don't have to like Aunt Song. She's not my real mother. I was adopted. This says a lot, but it seems like Troy and Viola, as much as they didn't really know each other very well, it seemed like that they didn't know each other because they weren't in each other's lives. It seemed to me like they really related to each other.
Yeah, and at first, when they go over to the house, I'm thinking, these two girls are going to fight a lot.
Yeah, but Viola thought she was really funny, and also thought that she had things that she really wished she did have, because the mom didn't let her do anything. And she was, at this point, I think, much older than Troy. Would you say?
The mom?
No, Viola.
She was taller. I would say a couple years older. Okay. Which at that age is a big difference.
Yeah. But she, because her mother, Aunt Song, had so much control over her, but that was a different kind of thing when it came to Carolyn. Carolyn was kind of, she was overbearing, and she wanted the kids to help out with whatever she needed them to do. Mm-hmm. And Song was controlling and didn't want Viola to have any fun. So I think in some ways...
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Well, you know what I mean.
I think that she wanted her to enjoy herself, but she wanted her to be more in line with Jesus.
Or in line with how she felt.
Yeah, because you got to remember, Viola also threw her a birthday party.
Yes, she did.
And when she comes to live at the house, she doesn't make her sleep in like a dirty basement or anything. Yeah. She gives her a room with Viola. With Viola. She gives Troy a room with Viola. So I don't know if I'd say she doesn't want her to have any fun. I would say that she's a little bit more strict as far as religion goes. She's
more strict. Yeah, that's right, because she does throw her a party. Yeah. She did go through all of that to give her a good place to stay. I think her Uncle Clem, though, was kind of going against her wishes because he was getting frustrated with her.
Yes.
And she's like, look, if Troy wants to go home, let's vote, and if Troy wants to go home, then she's going to go home. That's it. Because it seemed like Aunt Song was the one that kind of wore the pants in the family, it seemed like, in that household.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't think that's a good idea. What did you think? I know this is kind of a sort of a morbid but funny moment.
You made me rewind it. You're like, why yes again? Okay.
No, but I wanted you to see it because
I didn't see it. I didn't see the dog.
Okay.
So I believe what you were going to ask me is what did I think about the scene at the birthday party where Song gets the kids to arrange the bed and pull out the mattress from the couch. And before then, she's looking for her dog. And we find out that the dog died in the couch. And when they pull out the mattress, the dog's body is released and hits Song.
Oh, it does. Oh, okay. Okay.
I thought that was good.
Yeah, and then fast forward towards the end where they're having a funeral.
and then Uncle Clem is like, "Now come on, Troy, we'll help you get to the airport.
I'll help you get your bags."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Bye, Aunt Song. I'm sorry about Queenie." And she's like, "Goodbye, Queenie. I'm sorry you died in the sofa, even though I hated your guts." And she's crying, and she's like, "It looks like it's raining. That means my baby is in heaven." And she's just completely beside herself. I just thought it was really funny. But that lady who played Aunt Song was really good.
Yes.
She was very good. I had to laugh at her. And she's like, Trudy or Judy or whatever your names are. I'm guessing there were just a bunch of other girls.
That's what I'm assuming. It's kind of hard to tell. But
yeah. Howie.
That's okay.
I keep reaching up too far.
I know. But that's all right, babes.
And so in the midst of all this craziness, she goes back and finds out that her mother, Carolyn, is sick at the hospital. Her Aunt Maxine and her uncle, I forgot what his name was.
They just called him Uncle Brown, I think.
No, he had a first name. I can't remember what his name was.
Okay.
But, they're trying to make her a little bit comfortable with going to visit her mom in the hospital, because she doesn't know, at this point, she doesn't know what's going on with her mom. And then, fast forward, they're at the house, and the dad comes in and says, "I have to tell you something about your mother." And so they turn off the TV, and he said, "Now, the doctors found out that your mother has cancer." And they're like, "What's cancer?" And he said, "Well, and he's trying to explain it, and he's trying to calm the kids down, and they're already crying, and they're just freaking out. They're like, "It's not fair." And they're just, that was a really sad part. I did not like that part. When he's telling all the kids, and they're just, everybody's crying, except for Troy, I think. I think the boys are crying.
Yes.
I don't think Troy's crying, because she doesn't know how to handle it, I think.
Yeah, and then I thought it was really rude of the dad to go, "Hey, you boys are acting like little baby girls." And look at
he didn't say that.
Oh, he didn't say that. Okay.
Bub,
sorry.
Then try to change the movie.
Sorry. And then he just starts making fun of them, and him and Troy start ragging on the boys.
Bub.
Sorry.
So it wasn't that long before she dies.
Yes.
And her aunt is trying to make it easier for Troy to want to go to the funeral, and she's giving her clothes, and she's like, "Well, don't you want to look nice like your Aunt Maxine?" She's like, "Listen, my mother hated polyester. She would never let me wear something like that." And she basically made it clear that she didn't want to go. Mm-hmm. And then her dad comes in, and she's like, "Troy, come on, we're waiting. Let's go." And she's like, "I don't want to go." And so he had a way of talking to her and calming her down and saying, "Well, we have to think about what Mommy wants, because Mommy would want you to be at the funeral. And don't you want to make her happy?" And he said, "Now, you go get ready, and I'm going to wait downstairs." And she's like, "Okay." She gets ready. They go to the funeral. I don't know what goes on when they're meeting each other at the church, right? Because the dad's talking to everybody.
Yeah.
And talking about Aunt Song, and he's probably greeting people, and they're leaving. And then one day, I don't know how long after the funeral, but one day she has this dream, and she sees her parents fighting. And I think in the dream, her father is hitting her, I think. They don't actually show that. They don't show that?
No.
But they show her them arguing and fighting.
That you hear them.
Yeah. I thought I heard something else. Like he was pounding something.
I don't think I heard that, but keep going, babes.
But anyway, she's in the dream, and she's like, "Mother, stop it, stop it. What are you doing? Stop it." And she's yelling, and she's like, she wakes up, and she's looking for her mom, and the dad's like, "No, Mommy's gone now." And then it looks like she's about ready to cry, but she throws up. And that was the way that she was, getting rid of all that sadness and anger and whatever, how she felt about her mom. And
her dad's bad cooking from the night before.
Bubs.
Sorry, keep going.
And so he's cleaning her up, and he's like, we were wondering when you would break.
Everyone else broke.
Everyone else broke, but we were wondering when you would break. And that was her way of breaking and grieving. And then fast forward towards the end where she's brushing her little brother's hair because her mother made her promise to take care of her brother Joseph. And she's brushing her hair, and she's like, Mommy does it better. And she's like, well, I'm sorry, Joseph, but I'm not Mommy. And so she's trying to comb out all the naps, as they call them, in his hair.
Okay.
And then the last scene you see is Soul Train on TV.
Yeah, and Don Cornelius signs off the movie.
Right.
I have a lot of issues with Spike Lee.
Yes.
He does some things that are brilliant, but he also does a lot of things that I don't understand. So, for example, there's another movie of his called He Got Game, which has some amazing stuff of it, but it doesn't add up to a great movie. It adds up to some great scenes with some stuff that doesn't make sense. He overuses music in that movie, like he does in a lot of his films. In this movie, it works really well. There's music in pretty much every scene, which can be jarring for some people, but I feel it's used correctly in this film. I also liked that it's a kids movie, but somebody dies in it. And it's not like at the beginning of the movie and the rest of it is her processing it. It's near the end. It's a character that you've grown to, understand a little bit. I felt that he was a little bit too indulgent because there's so much stuff with the family at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
I think he could have cut out about 20 minutes of that and used that extra time to focus on her relationship with Song and Viola. They could have been a little bit more well-rounded, and you still would have got the point that she grew up in a crazy family.
So you think that the movie would have been well spent if she spent most of the time in the South?
I don't even know if most of the time, but I'd say
or a good amount of time.
Yeah, like 20 minutes more in the South and 20 minutes less on the family.
Because there was like a big scene where they were eating dinner and how the mom and the dad were trying to keep them under control.
Right, but there was also just like a lot of scenes of them playing in the neighborhood. And a lot of scenes of them just hanging out at home. And that's good to a point, but I felt that we already got the message. And Spike Lee does this. He'll hammer a message instead of just slipping it in subtly.
I thought that Alfre Woodard did a really good job as a mom. I thought she was great, as crazy as the character was. And I don't know who the guy who played the father, but I liked it, his portrayal of Woody Carmichael's character.
The parents were good.
They were very good, yeah.
So those were some of my complaints. I also felt that they should have ended the movie with her crying to her dad instead of letting it go on. And there was this weird monologue that Alfre Woodard gave on the steps of the apartment.
It was
after she's already dead.
So it seemed to me like, in thinking about it, because I didn't understand that part either.
Yeah.
When I was younger, and I think about it, maybe she was imagining her reading a letter from her mother.
Oh, okay, so it's not actually happening, but it's in her.
Because remember when she says, "Dear Ladybug"?
Head.
Yeah, remember when she says, "Dear Ladybug"?
Yeah.
Ladybug is her nickname.
Right.
And so I'm thinking to myself, now that I think about it, maybe she's imagining and she's reading a letter that her mother wrote her in her head.
Interesting.
That's what I'm thinking, but I could be completely wrong.
See, I still would have cut it from the movie.
Yeah.
And
like just to hear her voice but not see her face?
Well, I would have cut it completely from the movie. I would have had an ending with her crying into her father's arms and him saying, "We were wondering when you were going to break, but I'm not going to leave." And I know that's only like maybe 5 minutes more of the film, but I would have cut that off.
Well, no, she didn't want to leave because she said, "Please don't let me live with."
She didn't want her dad to leave.
No. She didn't want to be given away to somebody because she was saying that her aunt and uncle wanted her to live with them.
Right, but to me that represents the dad leaving them, not her leaving.
And she said, no, but he said nobody's going anywhere. But he said, please don't give me away.
I know what you're saying, but they represent the same thing because she's not going by choice. She's going because the dad is leaving the family, if that were to happen.
Or if he couldn't take care of the kids.
Right. And I would have had it end with him saying nobody's going anywhere and then close the movie on the somber song.
But when he was staying with their relatives, right?
Yes.
I don't think that he was doing it by choice. I think he because I don't know. I think after watching it when I was a kid, I was thinking that Carolyn wanted him to leave.
She did. She didn't necessarily want him to leave, but she wanted him to do something successful.
Right.
Right. And we get the impression that he used to be a successful musician. I'm assuming that he was probably like a backup musician, like a studio musician or touring musician. Mm-hmm. But now he's going out on his own to create his own music and he's struggling.
Right.
Which does happen in entertainment a lot.
And then I think she was saying, well, why don't you play other people's music? So Mama wouldn't be upset with you or something like that. I thought that was cute.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things in this film. Overall, I liked it, but I did have those few complaints about it. I
think I liked her private relationship with her mother, even though she just seemed really crazy with the boys. Because she thought that she had to toughen them up, right? Because she was like, "Get up! It's 4:00 in the morning." Well, I think she woke up Troy too.
She did. But Troy was the first one she woke up.
Okay, so I think I was crazy, but regardless of that, irregardless of it, or whatever you say it, regardless of that,
irregardless.
I say regardless. Regardless of that, her relationship with Troy, I think it seemed a lot. It seemed special. Like she really was close to her mother.
Because Troy was the only girl.
Troy was the only girl, and she was living in a house full of boys. But she also had a special relationship with her father, too. Again, because she's the only girl. Right.
So she's going to stand out in that environment.
Right.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So I liked it. Spike, I have issues with Spike Lee, but...
I did like Tommy. I did like that. What did you think about that guy Tony that that had a stinky house because of all the garbage?
I thought that could have been cut from the movie. That's one of the things I would have cut because it's not necessary. I think you already get the sense that the neighborhood's crazy.
I think you're right though. I don't think they should have had this feud with the feuding neighbor, right? Yeah. Because the whole neighborhood is nuts.
And we already established that it's nuts. So
yeah, and
it's just overkill to me.
And the people in the grocery store are crazy too. Yeah.
That I kind of did like though.
Oh, you did?
I didn't like the scene at the beginning where the one guy is dancing with the transsexual.
I'll never go back to Georgia.
I would have cut that out because now you're just, because it was made in the 90s, now you're just trying to show something just
I thought RuPaul was in that scene.
I don't think that wasn't RuPaul.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay.
It was somebody else. But I liked when the guy catches her stealing. Uh-huh. I thought that was good. Yeah. Which is kind of the same thing, but it's a little bit later.
Right. Right. But it kind of made me think that maybe, because her neighborhood was so crazy, she had to think of, and because they were close to getting their electricity turned off.
They did get it.
They get it turned. You know what I mean? They got their electricity turned off. Because her family was in such a poor situation, she had to do, not that I condone what she did, but if she felt like she had to do anything she could to get food to her family.
I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I wouldn't condone it necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. I also would have liked to have seen more of her relationship with her aunt and uncle who picked her up from the airport.
Yeah, because you don't really know much about them at all.
It would have been interesting if they were at a dinner with them before she goes to the South. Right. Or if the kids reference them a couple more times. Mm-hmm. But it was good though.
Yes.
Yes.
I like that one part when he's like, Aunt Song's kind of weird, huh? Yeah. They talk really funny in the South. They're like, yeah.
That was good.
I thought that was funny. But then you got a glimpse of, because that was the same couple that that the dad was staying with, their relatives.
Right.
Yeah.
But we don't know about how the kids feel about them. Like, is he the cool uncle? Mm-hmm. Or are they like the aunt and uncle that you kind of want to stay away from?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Yes.
They only showcase Aunt Song and Uncle Clem.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not enough.
Not enough, yeah.
Jaylo.
Yes.
We still haven't decided. Well, actually, before we get to that,
mm-hmm.
You watched this film a lot as a child. And I'm just wondering, how was your viewing experience different of this film now than it was as a kid?
There were some things that I forgot about that were in the movie because I haven't seen it in so many years. I think the last time I saw it, I was like 14, 15, somewhere around there. Because we watched it more than once, obviously. And, well, I think it has more meaning now to me.
In what way?
Just because of what that little girl went through, and she lost her mother at 10. You know, she grew up in a rough neighborhood. She had to deal with constantly fighting against her brothers and fighting boys because she had to survive in that neighborhood, and how she kind of overcame that, and how you know, she felt like she kind of felt like she didn't know where she was. She didn't know her place in her neighborhood, and about her parent, you know, the relationship between her two parents and what they tried to give them, and they tried to do the best that they could for the kids, as poor as they were. You know, I don't know. It still holds up for me today, I think.
Does being a cancer survivor affect the way you look at this movie? Because obviously the mom dies of cancer.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it does. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I think that I wish that Troy would have been told sooner instead of just taking her to the hospital and saying, oh, we had to visit somebody. And she's like, who's sick? And then she figures out it's her mom. But why didn't they tell her before so she could prepare herself? You know, instead of being thrust in that situation like, oh, by the way, your mom's in the hospital. We don't know what it is. You know, I don't know. I think they should have told her.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they should have said it in a way to where she wouldn't be so scared of it, because they didn't know. Well, and granted, they didn't know that she had cancer yet.
Yeah.
But tell her like, oh, by the way, when you come back, we just want to let you know that your mother's in the hospital. We don't know what she has yet, but we're going to go and see her. And I want to ask you if you're going to be okay with it. Right? Instead of just taking her there. And, you know, her parents are there, and I'm guessing she was hooked up to some tubes, right?
It looked like that.
Okay.
To me, the two scenes that really stand out with Alfre Woodard, well, I guess the three, is when she wakes the kids up early in the morning.
Yes. Crazy.
When she has the argument with the husband before he leaves for the first time.
Yeah.
And says, hey, listen, I'm doing all this stuff, and all I ask you to do is not write these bad checks. Mm-hmm. And then that scene in the hospital where now 10-year-old Troy walks in, and they start talking about her hair.
Yes. She's like, what happened to your hair?
Shit, I knew she was going to do that.
Yeah.
Is this a film that you would watch with your nieces and nephews?
Oh, of course. I think they would enjoy it. I mean, I used to watch it when I was, you know, there any movie that I would have liked, I think it would be a learning experience for them, yeah. I think they would enjoy it.
Yes.
My sister enjoyed that movie too. We watched it all the time.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a fun experience last night, babes.
It was.
Yes. We still haven't decided what we're going to watch next week.
No, not yet.
But we have time to discuss that later.
We do. It is only Sunday.
Yes. Babes.
Yes.
I got up at around 6 this morning. I had to pee. Went back to bed. And woke up, I don't know, around 8:30, 8:40. Got you up. So you were up earlier than you were. How do you feel about that?
That was good. I'm glad you did.
2 hours. Well, you said... Well, first of all, I fell asleep like right away. After
I did, and I was listening to something.
But you said that you were up for a while.
I don't know how long I was. I was trying to get comfortable, and I was listening to something too, and I finally went to sleep, though.
That's good, babes.
Yes.
Did you have any dreams?
I did not. Did you?
Yes.
What did you... Oh, really?
In the first dream, I guess it was like one big dream.
This was last night.
Yes. I thought I told you about this morning. I did tell you about it, but you don't remember.
Oh, yes. Yes, go on. Well, you can repeat it, though.
I'm talking to my mom, and this dog walks in. It's a big pit bull. And I decided to start wrestling with the pit bull.
I thought you wrestled with your mom.
No, oh yeah, that's right. You're
yeah, see?
Yes.
Yeah.
But dreams are kind of, you don't always remember them correctly. It's a good thing I told you.
Yes.
I started wrestling with my mom, and all disclosure, when my mom was alive, we didn't wrestle or anything. So this is just a weird dream. So I'm like play roughhousing with my mom. The dog comes in, grown pit bull, and I start roughhousing with the dog. And the dog and I are having fun. It's not like the dog was trying to attack me. He wasn't moving his head forward, but his nails were like digging into me.
Ooh.
So it's kind of hurting. So I had to calm the dog down, get it to lie down, and then I go on YouTube and I search for the world's oldest dog. I recognize that they're all smaller animals, and I get kind of upset. And then I woke up.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's funny.
Do you think that dream says anything?
That you want to wrestle with big dogs?
Apparently.
I don't know. Sometimes I have dreams about dogs too, and I love, in my dreams though, I hug dogs.
Well, that speaks to the difference between you and me.
You wrestle dogs apparently in your dreams.
But we were both having fun.
That's good.
Yes.
Maybe you want to be around dogs. I don't know.
It's a possibility, babes.
Maybe you want to wrestle with somebody.
Uh-oh.
Not me.
Maybe in a birthday suit, okay? Okay. We won't talk about that here, babes. Because I'm a wholesome person this morning.
Oh, whatever.
Whatever.
That is totally not you, Bubs.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I know, because I'm Mr. Disney. I showed you my favorite Disney movie last night.
Bubs, come on. It may have been owned by, Miramax may have been owned by Disney, but that's a Miramax film.
But it was financed by Disney.
But Disney doesn't put out films like that.
Not anymore.
No, they
did back in the 90s. They did. That was a Disney movie. Technically, it was a Disney movie, babe.
Oh, my goodness.
Funded by the Disney corporations.
Ugh.
Jaylo.
Yes.
I know we're just kind of like relaxing here on the bed, stretching out.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so. Well, I did get the correct packages. Well, at least one of them anyway.
But you didn't check the one that you think is my birthday gift.
I will.
Once I leave.
Once you're gone.
Yes.
But anyway, that's just a little side note.
And you got a holiday card.
I did. I thought it was really sweet. I know you noticed it under my door, and I'm like...
So what had happened is, we were getting ready for bed last night. Alana was in the bathroom, and I go to make sure the door's locked, and I see that there's an envelope. I give it to you, and it turns out that it was a holiday card.
Yeah, I thought it was
very nice.
I thought it was really sweet.
Yes, because you were into Christmas and all that stuff.
Well, I did. I mean, I wondered if the person just put notes under their door, under people's doors, and I just thought it was really sweet.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yes.
Anything else you want to discuss, babes?
No, I don't think so.
All right, I think we covered a lot.
Yes, we did.
Yes. All right, babes.
All right.
Till next time.
Until next time.
Ending at 1:32.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.